What's up, world? Welcome back to Sneakers and Sports, brought to you by The Culture. Man, this draft was just crazy. A lot of unexpected things happened. Of course, at the top of the draft, the Browns doing something crazy by passing on Travis Hunter, generational talent, but that's a story for another day. The biggest story coming out this draft, obviously, is Shedeur Sanders slipping to the fifth round. I mean, you got a guy that was rated basically a top first round pick by many people, and sometimes people a top 10 pick. Our great friend Adam Sports had him going 18 to the Steelers. How do you go from basically not getting out the first round to being a fifth round pick and nobody having no respect on this man's name? How does that happen, man?
Well, I mean, look, I don't know what the true story is, but I mean, the rumor mill is coming out that your man didn't really do, like, he didn't take it the steps seriously after, the season. Like,
The interview process.
The interview process, the combine. I mean, I heard, he didn't work out at the combine, and then when the interview process, I think they're saying he came off arrogant. He came off, very standoffish. Maybe in some teams that he probably didn't want to go to, he purposely, hurt the interview or sabotage the interview. And also it's just like, I also heard this big thing about the Giants, and I don't know if you guys heard about it, to where they had an interview and they sent him a package for him to, learn, because they wanted him to regurgitate it back to him, and he didn't even look at it.
Well, that's not exactly what happened. What happened
was,
what
they say. I'm not saying that's true. These are all allegations.
So he went over with the head coach of the New York Giants, and they basically had him go on the whiteboard and go through a play. So he had to play, and then they had him go through an audible on that play. And what was being said is that Shedeur did not have the terminology down for the audible. And then that didn't go well. And the coach approached him about it, and he kind of challenged him that, they kind of had a back and forth. And the Giants coach kind of challenged him like, hey, you need to know the terminology. And I guess they had a little bit of a back and forth, and, they didn't really like that.
Yeah. So as you see, that's one of the reasons. But I mean, I don't know. It sounds like the interviews didn't go well at all. That's what they're saying.
Thanks, but if you're the Giants coach, though, how you going to press somebody when your organization's in the shambles? Like, seriously?
I mean, it's part of the process. It don't matter if your organization, a lot of those organizations are in shambles, especially ones that would be drafting him. They need a quarterback. It's part of the process, and you got to go through with the process. Now, the thing with Shedeur, Shedeur has the intangibles to be a good quarterback. Of course, they were talking bad about his athleticism and stuff like that. But that athleticism is not going to be the reason why you're not getting drafted, especially when there's not a lot of other QBs in this draft that are better than you. You're probably the best 2 or 3 QBs. The biggest thing with Shedeur is, like they're saying, he wasn't prepared for the interviews. He didn't give good interviews. He may have came off a little arrogant, a little cocky. But it's not even just Shedeur. It's also the fact that, Deion Sanders is his dad, right? And Deion Sanders is a coach. And, I mean, you have to think about it. If you're coaching Shedeur, and Shedeur already in your mind has this arrogant attitude. I'm not saying that he does. This is just, stuff that they're saying.
Right, hearsay.
Right.
So, yeah, and then you have to worry about on the back end, is Deion Sanders going to try to take my spot? This is Deion that you're talking about. So, you have all that, is Deion going to try to be the coach and all this stuff? You have all that, and just, just not showing up, for the stuff, not even taking all the interviews that he should have took, and just not taking it seriously. So, I mean, if all of it's true, then it's on him.
Here's my thing, though. If you're intimidated by Coach Prime, that's a you problem. That don't got nothing to do with Shedeur. That's a you problem. So that means that you're insecure as a man. So that's something you need to deal with. And my other problem with this, when people say Shedeur was not prepared, they have not been able, outside of the Giants interview, no one's been able to actually say, what was he not prepared for? What did he not do well? Where did he fail at? And then when people say he's a distraction, what's a distraction? This guy got almost a 4.0, never been in trouble, and is a star athlete, has been rated, a top 3 quarterback in the draft? Because he has social media and his brother follows and records him. The same characteristics that people complain about Shedeur with and kind of moan and groan about are the same things that Baker Mayfield does that everybody loves. This is a guy that ran in the field, planted his flag in the middle of another team's field, grabbed his crotch and told somebody to basically man up. So Baker's super arrogant, and that's okay. We was okay with Johnny Manziel being arrogant. What's the difference?
I think the big X factor is, like Mike, the expert, said, is Deion. It's his father. I mean, you got to think like
we were okay with it. We were okay with it with Eli Manning and his dad. They told the organization, we're not gonna play for y'all.
I get that, but you know that there's certain people, just like I said on Gridiron, that are comfortable with the Archie Mannings of the world versus the Deion Sanders of the world, okay? They see all that showboating and the, you know what I'm saying, the arrogance and we're not gonna go to that team, that type of thing. This was a position, like probably some of the owners wanted to put him in his place because they felt like he got too big for his britches. Let's just be honest. Or he, you know what I'm saying? They were like, I'm gonna humble you. Like, for instance, all right, so you can hear even when during his playing days about how, like, you know, he butted heads with some of the owners. Although he's friends with Jerry Jones, you know, there's stories that in regards to him butting heads with Daniel Snyder when he was with the Redskins because he wanted them to pick Terry Robisky as the coach. He specifically said that. And if you don't pick him, you're a racist and I'm out of here. And he didn't pick him. And so he was out of here. So it's just like he has kind of gone through his career being able to kind of like, you know, hey, what I say goes, because people, of course, when he was playing, they probably dealt with it because of his talent. Right. So now that it's his son now, the fact that it's his son, it's like the son is not, let's just be honest, he's not on the level and talent that Primetime was. Deion.
They also play different positions, man.
They do play different positions. But let's be honest. Like, a lot of that stuff would go out the window if he had the talent of, let's say, like Jaden Daniels or something like that. He had the talent of, like,
but hold on, man. Just saying, even Jaden Daniels, until he played an NFL game, we thought he was a great, prospect. They thought he was a good prospect. Nobody knew he was going to be this good. Same thing with, like, C.J. Stroud. My problem with this is, if that's the case, this is ridiculous for some old men to try to basically take out their grievance on Deion on his son. That's ridiculous.
There's been plenty of quarterbacks that have been 1, 2, and 3 they've been certified first rounders. He was not he was a first rounder, but let's be honest too, this QB draft this year was weak. It was weak. Like, if you had CJ Spiller, if you had Jaden Daniels, like CJ Stroud. That's what I meant. Yeah, I always call him CJ Spiller for something.
Yeah, that's a running back. It's a whole different player. And he was a bust.
CJ Stroud, if they had CJ Stroud, they had Jaden Daniels, they had those top type of players. Cam Ward and them, Jackson Dart, they would have been to the back of the round, maybe not even in the first round. They were better, higher draft picks. Like, this was a weak quarterback class. He just happened to come in this class. But I'm not saying he's not a certified top 3 pick. He's not. Like,
so I agree with Dom on it. If he was, don't get me wrong, he's a good player. But if he was a better player, if he was looked at as somebody that was going to be a great, then he may wind up being a great. But if he was looked at somebody who was going to be a great, they may overlook some of the stuff with both Deion and some of the stuff with himself, if that stuff is true. If that stuff is true that they're talking about, then they would have overlooked it. But right now, he just looks like a decent player, a player that could possibly be good. So
let me, for example. Yeah. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. For example, I'm just thinking about it. Cam Newton had his issues. Jameis Winston had his issues.
He did, and they were number 1 picks.
There you go. They are not on that. Let's be honest. Shedeur is not on the Cam Newton level, though. He's not.
Yeah, but we acting like Shedeur is basically barely an NFL quarterback. That's ridiculous.
No, I didn't. No,
we're acting like Shedeur is Daniel Jones. To me, the same things that people complain about his intangibles, right? He's not overly athletic. Okay, that's fine. He throws on time. He doesn't throw a lot of bombs. Guess who threw on time that was not athletic, that wasn't going downfield every single time he threw the ball, or threw a lot of intermediate throws? Tom Brady. It's okay with him doing it. And if the guy's the third best quarterback in the draft, how do you go from the third best quarterback to now being in the 5th round? Not to mention the team that picked him up in the Cleveland Browns picked up a bum, and Taylor Gabriel. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, but
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, well, he can be Dylan Gabriel, Taylor Gabriel. Hey, he wasn't good enough to go anywhere as far as, he had a better team and couldn't get it done in the playoffs. We saw that.
Yeah, but Dom is not saying that he's not going to be a great quarterback. What he's saying is right now they're not looking at him as that great prospect.
Right.
So they're not going to put up with a bunch of stuff. Now, if they were looking at him like a Cam Newton when he was coming out and all that, that might be different. But they're not looking at him like that.
Mm-hmm.
This just happened to be a quarterback class, and he happens to be one of the best of the week. They're not going to let him get away with that stuff. And if he really was acting a certain way in his interviews and not taking other interviews, then they're going to hold that against him.
Those interviews confirmed how they already felt.
Exactly.
Okay?
And because if some people do certain things, and get away with it, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do those same things and get away with it. You got to know
I get all of that.
You got to know how to play the game.
I get that, but here's something that's kind of ridiculous to me too. For us to be saying that Shedeur, who was rated a top 3 quarterback, we all agree was a top 3 quarterback in his draft. And like I said, we had Adam Sports on here, one of our draft expert gurus. Shout out to Adam Sports. Y'all check him out at Adam Sports on Instagram. Had him on here. And how, again, would you decide that a top 3 rated quarterback should be taking interviews from teams at the bottom of the draft? We've never asked any quarterback to do that. There's never been any quarterback that's a top 3 quarterback taking interviews from teams in the 20s. That sounds ridiculous.
That was the media saying that.
Right,
not
but
the NFL owners, not the NFL
but
scouts.
That's what we're saying.
I'm telling you, they saw
saying
something different.
They were saying that Shedeur declined certain interviews. Of course. Why would he take an interview from the team in the back half of the draft?
He declined because Deion already said we're not going to certain cities. He did say that in Cleveland.
He did say that. He did say that, and I get all of that. But come on, man. If you're a top 3 prospect, why are you taking an interview from a team in the 20s?
Well, here's the thing. He wasn't guaranteed that he was going to be drafted in the top 7, 8, 9, 10, and all that. That wasn't guaranteed. He might be a top 3 quarterback, but remember, it's a weak quarterback class, so he can be drafted later. There was no guarantee that he was going to be in the first round. But then, even on top of that, the interviews they're saying, from what they're saying, because I wasn't actually in the interview, but from what they're saying, the interviews that he did have, some of them are saying they're the worst interviews that they've ever had. So if those are the worst interviews you ever had, you're going to pass up on this guy. If you don't like the guy's character, if he's not showing great character, then you're probably going to pass up on him. And if you're seeing that, and a couple other teams are seeing that, they're going to talk. People talk. So he's going to keep getting pushed down. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't any collusion or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But from what I'm hearing right now, if that stuff is true, I can see why he kept falling.
I agree with Sean when he said that on Gridiron Gumbo. Y'all check that out. The episode just dropped. That, it was collusion. Because here's the thing. Nobody is complaining about Cam Ward. You know how many interviews Cam Ward took? 2. The Browns and the Titans. He didn't take no interview with the Giants. 2. The Browns and the Titans.
He was already projected to be.
He was projected to be number 1. He was projected. I mean,
guess how many visits Travis Hunter went on? 4.
But he was just that good, though. That's the difference.
I'm just saying.
He was just that good.
No.
Didn't we just say if you're just that good, then you're going to get picked anyway?
You can play that. They felt like his arrogance did not match his play on the field.
Exactly. And then on top of that, none of them said that he was just arrogant in his interviews or they were bad interviews or anything like that with Travis Hunter and Cam Ward, the ones that they did have. But they did say that about Shedeur. So, yeah, he got pushed down. I'm rooting for Shedeur. I want him to come in there and be one of the greats and show them that they made a mistake. But, if you act a certain way, you're going to get treated a certain way.
What do y'all think about the report came out that there's been some NFL owners that told the upstairs or basically the GM or the coach or whatever, take him off the draft board. I don't want to deal with that guy. That's been some reports.
I think it's ridiculous, man. I think it's ridiculous.
They don't want to deal with it. His talent wasn't worth, in their eyes, the headache. You know what I'm saying? They make those decisions.
That's the thing. When people say the headache, no one's still been able to explain, okay, he was bad in the interview. I get all that. No one's been able to explain what headache. The guy has no off-the-field issues.
Okay, so
None.
Here's the difference. So
he don't have no academic issues. Right. His teammates don't say he's a bad teammate. They say he's a great teammate.
There was this is just social media. This is not my personal opinion about anything. I'm just looking at social media. I'm looking at the tea leaves. Like, there's some people posting about Cam Ward coming off the private jet, Okay, he's in like regular cargo pants, just a hoodie. He even has basically the Apple earphones that you have on, KP. So everybody's like, see, he's focused on the game. He's focused on the game. He's not talking about, but I mean, perfect timing, doing all this stuff like with the gold chain. Like he already, like they're looking at Shedeur like he's already rich. What has he got to struggle? Yeah, what has he got to struggle? What has he got to grind for? What is he like?
My goodness!
Like, I mean,
guess what?
There is no Deion already made the generational wealth. I'm just saying, from an owner standpoint, you want somebody to come in here and grind. But I'm just saying, that's ridiculous. Not my personal opinion.
That's ridiculous.
I can see how some owners might look at it like that.
That's ridiculous. Because guess what? Eli Manning wasn't broke when he came in the league. Go ahead, expert.
Yeah, he wasn't. So far, until now, I've agreed with your takes, Dom. But that take right there,
look,
I can't.
I said it's not my personal opinion. I'm just telling you.
That's what the internet's saying.
Yes, that's what the internet's saying. I said, like, that's what social media is saying.
Look, I don't think they care about the fact that he has money or that he's rich or he might have this car, that car, whatever. I don't think they care about that. I think they care about, one, the character of the person that they're going to be drafting, what the person can do for them in the game, how great do they think this person is going to be, is he a game changer, and the fact that they're going to have to deal with his dad. They're going to have to deal with Deion and the stuff that he says and all that, and the circus that comes with it. And some of them don't want to deal with that circus.
The primetime circus.
The
social media.
That's what it has to do with.
The reality shows.
Exactly. And if Shedeur would have been, and I'm not saying that he wasn't, but from what they're saying, if Shedeur would have been more mature in the interviews and handled the process better, I think they could have got over the whole Deion thing. But if you got Deion saying stuff and then the son Shedeur coming in and actually compounding that a little bit by being, immature or having bad interviews, I'm not saying that's what happened because I wasn't there, but that's what they're saying.
How about this?
Shows up red flag.
How about this? Where do y'all feel like? Do you think this is a steal for the Browns? Do you feel like potentially the Browns have not had a really good quarterback in who knows when? I say Bernie Kosar. Some people gonna say Derek Anderson. Some people gonna say Baker Mayfield. There's all different answers up in here, but no consistent guy. Do you think he might be the guy? Like, to me, this is a win for Shedeur. He's got an opportunity to actually play this season. You got 40-year-old Joe Flacco he was terrible last year for the Colts. You have Kenny Pickett, who's on his third team that has not proved he can play. You have Gabriel, who is a rookie just like you. I think it's a great opportunity for him. I mean, what y'all think? You think he can turn this into something?
Don't forget about Deshaun Watson. He's still on the team.
Dog, you need to stop that, dog. You need to stop.
He's still on the team.
Dog, the man tore his Achilles again 3 months ago. He's not going to be in the quarterback room.
Okay.
I think...
he re-tore his Achilles 3 months ago, right?
Yeah, we know.
Okay.
He's not going to be... He's not going to be there. He's going to be there in a walking boot. He's not going to be on the field, bro. He's never going to get on the field again.
Got you. Well, look, I think that it could turn out to be a good situation for him. Because I think he's, better than those other quarterbacks anyways that he's going to be having to fight against, at least to become the number 2 quarterback. But I think eventually he's going to be out there. The only issue is, he has limited mobility. And that's why, his line was bad and he was getting sacked a lot. And, they talk about his mobility, limited mobility and stuff like that. Well, he's going to be in that same situation in Cleveland. So,
they don't have a bad offensive line. The Browns actually have a good offensive line. Plus, you go into a quarterback, going to a coach that loves to run play action, that plays with statues. He got to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. That man's a statue.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So if it's not
if it ain't no running like that, he got to the playoffs with him.
Okay, cool. So if that's not going to be a factor, then he should be all right then. I think he's going to be better than those other quarterbacks that are ahead of him. So yeah,
this is a good situation for him because he has the opportunity to really show what he's got. You know what I'm saying, with the quarterbacks that he's got to battle against. And then the fact is, it's good for the Cleveland Browns and also Shedeur. It's good for Shedeur because of that trade that they made. They have a lot of picks in the first round next year. So if Shedeur two, right, from the Jaguars. If Shedeur is actually good, now they can give him more to work with in regard to maybe a big time number 1 wide receiver, maybe add a running back or, maybe an offensive line, maybe, add something to the defense to give him more of a surrounding team, a good team around him. But it's good for the Browns because if Shedeur is a bust, they can go right back on the great quarterback, class next year and go in and get, you know what I'm saying, that replacement, that other franchise quarterback. So they have two chances at it, and they would never have had that. Would they have not traded out for that second pick and fleeced the Jacksonville Jaguars with all those picks they got?
Well, according to you, this is going to work out how it worked out for the Cowboys when they gave up Herschel Walker. According to you, I guess we will only see, and time will only tell.
It could be a dynasty, all because they traded the Travis Hunter pick.
Man, can you imagine that going from being the worst organization in the NFC, the AFC, to the best because you fleece somebody like the Cowboys fleeced the Vikings? But we'll see. Yeah. So we want to hear from y'all. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that this was wrong, what happened to Shedeur? And why do y'all think this happened? And how you got him balling out? Is he going to ball out for the Browns? Like, share, subscribe. We'll see y'all on the next one.
Peace.